Try it now? Okay, great. Thank you. Hi, folks. We're going to get started in about 1 minute. There we go. We've got the slides behind me. Okay. Should have done this while we were waiting. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm Commissioner Houck. I'm one of 5 commissioners at the California Public Utilities Commission, and I'm the lead commissioner for our Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment proceeding, as well as our California Advanced Service Fund and our Telecommunications Service Quality proceeding. So broadband is a top priority for me as a commissioner, and I believe we're going to be able to accomplish historic deployment of broadband during my term in partnership with the California Department of Technology, Caltrans, our local, regional, and tribal government partners, telecommunications carriers, and of course our community-based partners that we rely on to ensure we understand the needs of communities that are currently underserved or unserved. The primary purpose of today's listening session is to hear from everyone here today, to hear from community members. And with that, I'm going to make some brief introductory comments, and there's some slides behind me that I'll go through to walk through what the BEAD program is, that the Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment is what we refer to as the BEAD program. I also have Administrative Law Judge Glagola with me, and I have Susan Walters from the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, or NTIA, and I'm going to give them a chance to make a few comments before we go to the public to take your comments. So BEAD is a $42 billion federal program, and I'm going to go to the first slide. Let's see if... Yes, there we go. It's a $42 billion federal program created by the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. It's administered by the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, or NTIA. The goal of this program is to bring everyone in the nation online by building infrastructure and increasing adoption of high-speed internet. Federal rules require prioritization of end-to-end fiber deployments, but where this is not feasible, fixed wireless can be used as an alternative. So again, the first slide here shows that in June of 2023, last summer, NTIA awarded California $1.86 billion to expand our broadband access with a focus on unserved and underserved areas. The California Public Utilities Commission is going to continue outreach and engagement with communities and other stakeholders. We are going to conduct a challenge process for an eligibility map, run a grant application process, and propose sub-grantees, and then we'll submit a final proposal which will be made up of the sub-grantees that we're proposing to NTIA. All of these actions must be approved by NTIA. And the primary goal, again, is to deploy last-mile services to unserved and unserved areas, as well as looking at community anchor institutions. And we will have these slides available for anyone that wants them. There's some links in the slides to get more information as well. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So this slide walks through the schedule that we have for the program. In April through July of last year, we did public outreach. There were 17 community engagement meetings throughout the state. They were all in person. We did 3 tribal consultations in Northern California, Central California, and Southern California, as well as a virtual tribal consultation. The Commission submitted a 5-year action plan to NTIA in August of last year. We held a public workshop as part of this rulemaking process in October in Sacramento, which was a hybrid workshop, both in person and via the internet. In November, we issued our initial proposal, and we had public participation hearings and took comments on that proposal, which was submitted to NTIA on December 27th. So now that the initial proposal has been submitted to NTIA, the beginning part of this year, we are looking at waiting for approvals from NTIA for Volume 1, which will allow us to move forward with our challenge process. And once Volume 2 is approved and our challenge process is complete, we can take applications for subgrantees. And we will have 365 days from the date of approval of Volume 2 to submit our final proposal to NTIA. So with that, we've completed our initial wave of public engagements, and today's listening session is the second of 2. One was held in Los Angeles last November. And today's listening session, again, is designed to hear from the community, to hear from you. This is not the only opportunity. You can provide public comments in our docket card, and we can provide additional information about how you can get us public comments. And there will be ongoing and active engagement with communities across the state as we move forward with the challenge process and with our application process. So I want to recognize and thank our Communications Division staff who have really gone above and beyond on their work in this proceeding. I want to thank specifically Director Rob Osborne, Deputy Director Maria Ellis, Jonathan Lakritz, Ben Menzies, Ali Eshray, Laura Sasaki, Ian Culver, and Ian's from our legal division. I also want to thank my advisors, Carrie Ann Shepard, Victor Smith, Amanda Singh, who's here today, and especially Nikki Bawa, who's also here today, for all of their efforts in leading my office's work on this proceeding. In addition, I want to recognize and thank my Bagley-Keene partner, President Alice Reynolds, and her communications advisor, Michael Mullaney, for all of their support on this important effort. I want to thank our IT staff, Joe Haga, and his team for their work setting up today's event, and that includes Irene Kakajor, Syed Muhammad, Joyce Kwang, Antoinette and I'm sorry, Antoinette, I'm going to mispronounce your last name, for being here today, and Claudia Sanchez and all of their staff. I want to also have a special thank you to Allie Whitehurst and Cynthia Adams for all of their assistance in locating and helping us get the facilities today for this listening session. I want to thank everyone here at Allen Temple Baptist Church for being willing to host us in the community. I want to thank CETF, Sunny and Raquel, for all of their outreach and efforts to help engage community stakeholders, both here and with listening sessions in our public housing program. And then I want to recognize again Judge Glagola, who's here today, for all of his work in facilitating the proceeding. And I want to turn it over for a minute to give Judge Glagola an opportunity to say a few words.
Thanks. Thank you, Commissioner. So nice to see some neighbors from Oakland. I live in Oakland, so I'm very proud of that. And I just want to thank you for your work and the very thorough explanation. And it's also nice to see our partner, Susan Walters from the NTIA here as well. And I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Judge. And now I want to turn it over to Susan Walters from NTIA to say a few words.
Good morning, and thank you for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be here with you at this listening session. I am looking forward, especially to hearing from community members who we may not have heard from before. NTIA is very committed to having a participatory process across the country, and we are extremely pleased to have the partners here in California who also strongly believe in having input from all stakeholders. We obviously are in a critical point in the planning process. As you heard from Commissioner Houck, California turned in its proposals on December 27th. We had all states and territories get their proposals in on time. So we did not have Christmas or New Year's, but that's okay. The good news is it comes around every year. We obviously continue, it will take us a bit of time, but hopefully not too much, to work our way through those proposals. And the next big opportunity, right, is the challenge process. And participating in that, we have a couple of states across the country that have started, Kansas and Louisiana. And I am looking forward to hearing how that's going in the next couple weeks. I haven't heard yet, but we are excited to see, you know, the process come alive. And I know many of you will be excited to participate in it. I wanted to just say I will be taking notes on my phone. I'm actually not sitting here doing email. I am listening, but I find I keep up better with the notes if I put them in the phone as opposed to take them on paper. Just the evolution of, you know, what has happened. It's, you know, I always liked writing, but I have just gotten to the point where it really is easier to just type them out. So look forward to hearing from you, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. So today's listening session, again, is to hear from you. The information that we hear today will go into the formal record of our BEAD proceeding. We have folks taking notes today, and those notes will be attached to a ruling that'll be issued by Judge Glagola and will be put into our record so that we can fully consider your comments when looking at what decisions we're making in this proceeding. We're going to ask folks to come to the podium and state their name and provide their comment. This is not a public participation hearing, it's a listening session, so the rules are that, you know, anyone that wants to make a public comment today can make a public comment. We're going to allow, even if you're a party to the proceeding, you can make a public comment as well. So with that, I will ask if there's a speaker that wants to come up to the podium and make comments. Thanks. And given we've got a small audience right now, I'm not necessarily going to put a specific time limit, but I would say if you could stay within like 3-4 minutes, that.
Just to be for more clarification on my own comment.
Yes, that's fine.
So, hello, everyone. My name is Louisa Kalimpong. I'm with the City of Oakland. So I did notice on Volume 2 that the criteria for BEAD has been, for anybody who hasn't read BEAD, or the Broadband Equity Advanced Digital Plan, so it would be the match, the labor practices, and the affordability of the actual service. The additional criteria, I think, was speed of deployment, and a few other things that I know that are part of the overall BEAD process. I didn't get to see the local and tribal coordination as being highlighted as a main criteria for any subgrantee of the BEAD process. I think that is a bit of a misnomer because it's, we saw an FFA where, and FFA is the CPF that California just put out over the summer, a funding program there, that wasn't part of the process as well. And we saw AT&T put forth $1.5 billion in applications without any coordination with local governments, tribes, other stakeholders that would have been able to give them more insight into their projects and to talk more about how this could benefit the overall community rather than just benefiting their bottom line. I think having that be a part of the actual BEAD process would have been would have been a really nice thing to see within volume 2. I don't think I saw it in volume 2. Is that, and I poured over it last night. I just wanted to be sure though.
So I would ask that you reach out to my office, and either Amanda or Nikki can help you connect to the right, our staff that can walk through it. Equity is a factor, and so there are criteria in volume 2 that, as well as the criteria for looking at the geography for where the project area is for unserved and unserved. We have to address all areas that are unserved at a minimum. Sure. And tribal lands can be separate projects and have to have consent. So there's other factors built in as well that do provide for priority or allow for ensuring that those projects that you're describing are addressed very specifically. And so what I would say is, if you could reach out to my office, we can make sure that you're connected to the right people so we can walk through and maybe point that out.
Okay, that's great. I mean, you know, I think it's very important for myself, working for the City of Oakland, to understand projects that are being purported for funding within the city boundaries, and that way we can look at them more critically and see how they would benefit the overall City of Oakland, and if they're actually doing meaningful builds rather than something else that could just be, you know, augmenting their current network. So that would be good to see that within volume 2, because I don't believe I saw it in there. I know there was a couple of other topics. The project area units. Project area units are going to be the smallest geography that we can implement for the subgrantee process. And I think when it comes to the project area units, it's easiest for everybody across the board to just look at census blocks. Census blocks just tie right back into everything else we do. They obviously meet the geography of the city as well. It's clean. We could, the FCC, when they put out the fabric and created the hexagons that, you know, that do capture a lot of the actual geography of the United States in terms of, you know, hexagon is a perfect shape. But when we're trying to tie it back to not only the location, because the location, of course, matters, and that's what the money is tied back to when it comes to the funding, but when we're wanting to make change and we're wanting to see impact, it's easier to just tie it to a census block. And in the past, FCC has noted that if one person in the census block is considered served, then the entire block is served, which has been a big fallacy that I think we all have concluded now, that since the location threshold has been pronounced, is something of the past, and we shouldn't necessarily go back to that again. But still looking at the granularity of the location, but tying it back to a block as a project area unit would just make it that much more simpler for people to grab geographies, understand who they're serving within that block. It's just very, especially from anybody who works in any of this broadband stuff, it's just going to be a lot cleaner and easier. I understand that more rural blocks are going to be bigger, more urban blocks are going to be a lot more smaller in geography, but again, it still ties back to what we know to be the truth in terms of the census. So there's that. And the other thing I wanted to bring up was the extremely high cost threshold. You know, that definition, typically from USAC, has been on the basis of rurality, in a sense, because the distance was always the biggest arbiter when it came to actual costs for CapEx for anything to do with broadband. I do think there is a bit of a disconnect when it comes to what the actual CapEx costs are for projects when it comes to urban and rural, and to really look at it more holistically than just like, hey, we know that distance from A to B should cost X amount. There are so many other factors in play when it comes to urban environments that have not been looked at in the national lens, and I would hate for the state to miss out on the opportunity to set a precedent that was more as diverse as the state is. So, I swear I won't be here. I won't be up here forever. But and I think when City of Oakland and our advocacy partners looked at how to do the challenge process coming up for the next Fabric iteration, we were told prior that if we didn't know the subscriber information within, when we're trying to submit challenges at scale for City of Oakland, we would have to have in volume 1, we would have to have different other sets of criteria that would go with it. And I want to ensure that in volume 2 that didn't necessarily go forward, meaning that if we were to submit challenges to the Fabric that would really show and reflect what the reality is on the ground, that we were able to do that in a way that was not prohibitive of just us being advocates in our own city. We're not going to have subscriber information. And there isn't one provider in the area that offers speeds so low that it, that is even a thing that you could subscribe to as a consumer. So having this idea of an additional threshold of what the subscriber level is at the household does not help us scale the kind of challenge process for the Fabric that would be needed. So if that makes sense. And I can elaborate more if you like. But if we have the data, we can show it in a meaningful way that that is compliant with FCC speed test standards, but without the addition of having that subscriber information that would be very helpful for us to submit those challenges and reflect the served and unserved within Oakland that isn't currently reflected on the CPUC maps. So that's what I had. Thanks. And thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate those comments. Another speaker? No? Okay. And again, if you could state your name and if you're here as an individual or if you represent an organization.
Sure. My name is Tim Alborg. I'm with Education Superhighway. Have a couple of brief introductory comments. So I just wanted to thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Susan, for being here today. I'm with Education Superhighway. As I mentioned, our mission is to really close the digital divide across the country and level the playing field for everyone. So just a little bit of history about Education Superhighway. I think you know who we are, but just as a bit of background, we started in 2013 by really focusing on the K through 12 public school digital divide, really focusing on public schools that needed broadband internet in the classroom. And so today, we're really excited. The classroom connectivity gap is closed. There's 47 million students in this country that are now connected, and 99.3% of America's schools have a high-speed broadband connection. So that's awesome. But with the onset of the pandemic, as we know, a lot of folks were trying to learn at home. And so Education Superhighway sort of reoriented our focus and started to look at broadband availability at the home level, right? At the individual household level. And so right now, our mission really is to close the digital divide for the 17 million households across the country that are offline because they can't afford to connect, right? And so that's what we're really focused on right now. So really want to request that the CPUC continue to focus on MDUs as part of the equation, as a critical component of California's BEAD plan. 1 out of every 4 disconnected households in California lives in an MDU. So just really want to emphasize that point. We want to thank you for continuing the work on the BEAD initial proposal. I know you're working with NTIA right now to have that finalized. And so we really want to specifically, make sure that you're considering this feedback today, your feedback at other locations as you finalize this initial proposal for California. So really, most of what I wanted to focus on today is the upcoming challenge process. I know we're not there yet. We still need to finalize this initial proposal. But I wanted to make sure that the CPUC is really thinking about those entities that are actually going to be part of the challenge process which are nonprofits like Education Superhighway and local governments. We want to make sure, because we're already participating in Kansas and some of the other states that you mentioned that are doing this challenge process right now, we're already participating in those states. We're finding that, there's different sort of approaches that these states are taking in the challenge process. For example, different sort of levels of evidence that they're accepting to challenge availability at, for example, the MDU level. And so really we want to just make sure that we can continue the conversation with the CPUC as it relates to California's challenge process. It might make sense for us to share some of our learnings in a little bit more detail with staff at a time that's convenient for you, just to let you know what's working and maybe what's not working in other states. One thing in particular that we would love for California to consider is the possibility of bulk challenges. So rather than let's say doing an availability challenge at one unit, potentially allowing for the acceptance of bulk challenges through like a spreadsheet upload or something similar as part of the challenge process. This is going to allow potentially a little bit more flexibility for nonprofits and local governments, these typically under-resourced organizations, to be able to effectively be part of the challenge process. Just as a final comment, Education Superhighway offers all of our support and services pro bono to the states that we work with across the country. So we're happy to continue to provide our help, our support, our pro bono consulting, for lack of a better word, to the state of California whenever you need it. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. And yes, please reach out. We'd be happy to meet with you. And please engage in the meetings that we plan to have for additional engagement and outreach as we move into the next phase of the proceeding. And that invitation is to everyone here. So please, we really need your participation and encourage it so that we can make the best decisions possible. Do we have anyone else that would like to make a public comment? I think Sunny wants to make a comment.
Commissioner Houck, Judge Eglola, Regional Director Walters, I came to listen and listen in the capacity of being a member of the California Broadband Council. My name is Sunny McPeak. I am the president and CEO of the California Emerging Technology Fund. So I was really very appreciative of Alan Temple stepping up and responding to Cynthia Adams, to the NAACP, to host this gathering. And I really want to commend you, Commissioner, for holding these listening sessions. So the first thing I really want to underscore is I'm here to listen to. You and I serve on the California Broadband Council. We've had presentations from Oakland Undivided about issues with respect to middle mile, last mile federal funding account, and now we're focusing on BEAD. And the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act for California is going to be a huge resource to fill in where we know we still have gaps. And so I rise to say part of my questions that I want to share with the leaders in Oakland, and it's so great to have Oakland City here, is that as we have viewed the challenge of the digital divide and the process of digital inclusion and the result of digital equity, we view it as a 21st century civil right. We've called digital equity a 21st century civil right for more than a decade. If it doesn't work for Oakland, it doesn't work for California. If it doesn't work for LA, it doesn't work for California. If it doesn't work for Mono County, it doesn't work for California. We know that. We have a very large and diverse state geographically. There's no state with more diverse geography and geology than California. That's before we add 40 million people. So the work that the state has done to put forward money has it's revealed that there's a limited resource. Now, we have the opportunity with BEAD, and here's the point that in my little simple mind I want to share. The state has a program of middle mile. We focus on last mile, and actually what we need to do is make sure those things are connected. And I always start from who are the residents in the hardest to reach communities. And in California, we have two kinds of very hard to reach communities. One clearly is our remote rural, including all the tribal lands. California has more Native American residents than any other state and more federally recognized tribal organizations than any other state. And they tend to be the farthest out from our urban areas, very large, hard to connect. We have to drive to those farthest out communities and then connect and upgrade everybody along that path of deployment. The second community or group of residents who are the hardest to reach are high poverty urban area residents. They're the hardest to reach because the marketplace doesn't operate in those areas to provide a return on investment, which is why we bring our public dollars to the table. And so I really want to offer from the California Emerging Technology Fund in our role as actually assigned to us by the Public Utilities Commission in 2005, Close the Digital Divide in California. We have been a partner in Oakland primarily in schools, or our school to home program, since 2007. We first partnered with what was then OTX West and now is Tech Exchange, and then put over $1 million into Oakland Unified Schools. So as a partner to the Oakland community, CETF really would be available to share with you what we've done in Southern California, in the San Joaquin Valley, to invite partnerships with the private sector, but there has to be organized from an entity such as the city. I know Cape could help, of course, Oakland Undivided, but a process of requesting who are the companies that are willing to step up and listen to the community. A lot of them submitted applications at the state convention, NAACP convention in, I think in October. Susan, you and I were there. I actually asked one of the companies that was on a panel, so what are you doing with these applications to talk to the community, right? Now, the NAACP could be, and I actually made that plea to the NAACP, be a really important partner in this whole process to get to, if you will, the 21st century civil right. Looking at and getting quantified how many residents in East Oakland, how many residents in West Oakland, every place else, but those are the two large areas where we need to upgrade the last mile in particular, and then look at which middle mile we need. I do think BEAD funding, and hope that we can look at it as a big resource. The other resource California has that most states don't is our California Advanced Services Fund. So thanks to the leadership of the state of California and the California Public Utilities Commission, there's even more of a flexible pot that could be added to make sure, if we start with the real challenge, which is how many people we need to get connected at quality infrastructure, and then invite in proposals from the private sector to select one or more to actually be the partner to submit an application. It's time to stop the debate on how much money we're allocating and really focus on where we're going to build to get to the most digitally disadvantaged. So that's what I want to share and offer from our organization as a nonprofit. I also want to say I'm continuing to listen as a member of the California Broadband Council to all the public testimony. And lastly, I have been studying the BEAD plan too, and I want to actually comment on what I think is page 90, it's certainly around that, which is a link between, or a connection between, deployment and adoption and affordability. I think that is so, so incredibly important. As we stand here today, the Affordable Connectivity Program that is also in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act has a freeze. The word being used by the FCC is freeze. I like that better than end. I like that better than terminate. You know, it's at least a freeze, suggesting it can be unthawed. And we have almost 3 million households in California on ACP. There are 2.9 million more households that qualify for the Affordable Connectivity Program that we still need to reach. And California has enrolled more households by over 1 million than any other state. That's because actually there's been leadership from the governor and the legislature and the California Broadband Council and all the members that we've mobilized, and it's still hard to reach those who are the most fragile economically and the most digitally disadvantaged. It's why it's also important to see our friends from the internet service providers, because you have affordable offers. We're going to have to figure out how to transition or keep connected 3 million and get to 2.9 more million. And so your discussion on number 2, BEAD number 2, about that linkage is very important. I'll close again by thanking you, Commissioner Houck, for being so dedicated to listening to the public, scheduling all these public sessions, and thank again Alan Temple and NAACP for being the host. But we've got to come together as a community and focus on those in need, and now do the job of getting to those people who are not connected with quality service, getting them online. It is a civil right.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Okay, we are going to take a 10-minute break just in case we have some folks that were scheduled to be here till noon, and just in case someone else shows up or someone here decides they do have something more they want to say. So we'll take a 10-minute break and come back. Oh, and I apologize. I was remiss. If anyone needs restrooms, they are through this door here and to the left. Okay, thank you, everyone. I think we're going to go ahead and reconvene. Oh. Oh, do you need a minute? Or, oh, okay. So we wanted to see if anyone else wanted to come up to the podium to make a public comment. Oh, great.
Good morning.
Good
My name
morning.
is Rochelle Buford Williams. Okay.
Oh, is the microphone on?
The light is on. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Great. Thank you so much.
My name is Rochelle Buford Williams. I'm a resident of East Oakland, a member of Allen Temple, and also a member of the Public Ministry and Health Education Ministry. And I just want to say, when I walked in here, I was a little disappointed. And I was disappointed because of the turnout, but the lack of turnout is because nobody knows about this. I only know about it because it was in my church newsletter. I'm a resident of East Oakland. I'm in and out of stores. I saw nothing. I got nothing in the mail. And I'm sure people would love to come out and tell you about our horrible internet broadband experience. I'm paying top dollar for Comcast Infinity, but I'm not getting top dollar service or product. My internet goes in and out, it fades, dies on a Zoom call, and children don't have access to do their homework. It is terrible. Had we known this is what you wanted, we could have brought in people to speak, to let you know just how bad it is. So I see you got this plan up here. I'm gonna get internet in what, 2026? What am I doing now? So it's bad in East Oakland. I have property in West Oakland. It's bad in West Oakland, it's bad in East Oakland, but it's not bad all over Oakland. So I'm glad you're finally paying us some attention. Better late than never, but this is just not acceptable. What are we doing? I'm paying the same money. In fact, I'm paying more money because I'm getting less service. And this is not acceptable. And it can't continue to go on. And since this is an election year, I ain't heard ne'er candidate say anything about broadband. None. And I'm on public ministry. So we're going to be hosting a town hall. So this is an election. You guys, we got to do better. I don't know what the communication was, but the communication did not come to the residents of East Oakland. And Allen Temple, we can only do so much. We can host, we can put it on, but we did not realize that you wanted a listening session where you wanted all this public comment coming in. I came in here expecting you to tell me what was happening. I had to Google quick on my phone. Wait, what's going on? Oh, you want me to speak? Okay, well, I'm happy to tell you, internet broadband in East Oakland is unacceptable. Poor quality, and we are paying top dollar and not getting the service or the product. But I appreciate all y'all showing up. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. And I'd be happy to come out again, and if you have recommendations about how we can do a better job and where we should be getting our information, we would like to do a better job and make sure we are providing a forum that has given notice to folks. So I really appreciate the comment and letting us know that we need to do a better job.
My comment's pretty much sentiment to a great extent what Rochelle just said. My name is Deacon Harold Goodman. I'm a deacon here at Allen Temple Baptist Church. I'm also a member of the public ministry. I'm the chairperson of the health education ministry. I talked to the young lady early in the back, and I was appalled with the lack of community representation here today, because I don't think we, you, whomever, did not do a good enough job to adequately promote it. You know, their organization, National Council of Negro Women's, you got the senior citizen location on AIDS. You may well know that we have senior citizen homes as part of Allen Temple. We could have possibly arranged to have the buses to bring up if you wanted to hear the truth. But you guys already know the truth. You already know that the services in this community is not what it needs to be. When we experienced the pandemic, when everything was shut down, we were doing all services remotely. We had to go through a lot of obstacles to get adequate broadband to to do our broadcast for a year and a half when everything was shut down. So let's cut through the chase. You know, you saw what you saw coming in here today, and I'm not blaming anyone here, but you know what we're dealing with. So let's focus on solving problems and providing services to those who deserve it and need it. You know, furthermore, I live in San Leandro, okay, and I live in an older home, so you know I have AT&T, and they tell me, well, I guess it's fiber optics. I don't know what the latest thing they need to put in. Well, we have the older system, and the focus is put on, well, they're building new properties. They put the new equipment in. Well, what about the other people? Half the time when I'm streaming something, I can't even get it. You know, and I'm paying top dollar too. You know, they come out to my house quite often because I'm the type of person that's going to complain and ensure that some action is taken. So let's focus on bringing equitable services to those who need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment?
Hi, good morning. My name is Patricia Wells. I'm the Executive Director of the Housing Authority of this great city of Oakland, California. I appreciate hearing the comments from our community members and support the fact that we absolutely do need solutions and we need them more quickly. And I also applaud, though, the efforts being taken to make sure that Wi-Fi does get into the communities underrepresented. For those in the audience, we at the Housing Authority are embarking on our own initiative to have free Wi-Fi placed in each of our public housing communities. That's 4 communities representing over 1,100 households, East, Central, and West Oakland. And we hope to be able to celebrate the closeout of 2024 with that Wi-Fi being activated for each one of our families because of everything that's been identified, both ensuring that our children have equal access of the best service to be able to thrive as scholars, that our elders are connected for medical care and everything that we do through Wi-Fi, and that those yearning to work from home and do other endeavors have the same type of access. The Housing Authority is here to support the city and the state's initiative. And right now we will work to the comment about making sure more folks are in attendance at helping with future community comment periods by hosting them and making sure that people that live in the communities that we serve, both our families as well as neighbors, have an opportunity for a local engagement. So stay tuned, and we'll be talking about how to get that out sometime in the near future. For those of you that did come, I say thank you, because internet access is not just a service. Actually, at this point, it's the same as any other utility, because without internet access, we don't have the lights on. So let's all work together, and thank you all.
Thank you. Anyone else that wants to make a public comment?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Helser Zavala, Field Representative with State Assembly Member Mia Bonta. I was here to take notes, to deliver back to my District Director, Rowena Brown, and the Assembly Member and our legislative staff. And I got inspired by Director Wells and everybody else here, especially the 2 residents right from this, the church, and how we can solve the information gap and the community engagement gap. One of my roles and leads as a field representative is sharing and empowering the community with access to information in our newsletters, e-alerts, similar to other offices throughout the state that tend to do so. And so I'm a strong believer that information is power, but when there are silos of information and folks that are, participating in this process with digital equity and in this process, how we can further as folks in my role throughout the state in onboarding and bringing on folks that maybe should be part of this conversation, right? Thinking about like health centers that maybe aren't, necessarily like digital equity advocates, but are part of this conversation because, community health centers, as the name states, are community centered, and so maybe they have an additional awareness. And so really took down some notes here. If there's, engaging just the district offices, the county offices and their staff, so that we can further collaborate and bring on a coalition of folks so that when this process started last year, so as we're going on more public hearings, how we can further expand the access of information and awareness, and if applications open up, how we can further increase that. I know our office, I take immense pride in always sharing the grants that the state opens up with the California State's Grants Portal, with the California Library, and other engagement opportunities. So really just knowing that we help us help you, right, as a sentiment, so that we do this in love of community and in love to others. So yeah, just thank you so much, and I felt called in sharing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I apologize, Patricia Wells again. It just occurred to me for our Oakland residents that the city's endeavor known as Oakland Undivided is just about this. And so a lot of the advocacy that's been working with our state partners and our county partners is coming from the city of Oakland under the umbrella of Oakland Undivided, which the Housing Authority is also a part of, as well as many other partners, specifically in the nonprofit world, to make sure that digital equity happens. If you're interested in that, please add chat to the chat and the questions and answers here, and we can work with Oakland Undivided to get you more information and more opportunity to be engaged in advocacy and actually making sure that this problem is solved. Thank you.
Does anyone else want to make a comment or have any questions or? Again, I want to thank everyone that did show up today and just reinforce that my office is willing to work with community members that came today, with Ms. Wells from the Oakland Housing Authority, the City of Oakland, Oakland Undivided. If we want to do an additional event, we have a number of actions that are going to be taking place still, and we definitely want to hear from communities that have been vocal about their needs for broadband. Want to work with the providers and see what services we do have here as well, and how we can make sure that the citizens of the state of California and Oakland and Los Angeles, and that the inner city neighborhoods are not left behind in these processes. And again, I think this is just a start, and I definitely heard, even though we didn't have the turnout we had hoped, I definitely heard we need to do a better job at outreach and sorting out how we do that. And I hope that the city, the housing authority, schools can be of assistance to us in the church here. Thank you so much for hosting us, and the outreach that you have potential to do would be also greatly appreciated, because we do want to make sure we're reaching the community, and are looking to get out in the community with some of the providers as well. And again, I wanted to make sure if anyone has any other comments they want to make, that we give you another opportunity to do that. And if not, we can take another maybe 10-minute break and then come back and see if anyone else shows up, because again, we are scheduled to be here till noon today. So I want to thank everyone that has provided public comment, and I know not everyone can stay through 12 o'clock, but again, appreciate your comments and feedback, and want to reiterate that all of the information we've heard today is being taken down and will be submitted into the formal record of the proceeding and considered as part of our process. Hi, everyone. We're going to reconvene. I think we may have a couple more public comments. And then I think Judge Glagola is going to come around the room and just ask folks if they want to state their names so we can include in the record who was here today, and really appreciate everyone's attendance. But is there anyone that would like to make a public comment? Okay. Yes, that we've got a microphone up here if anyone wants to.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ulysses Zadaran. I'm the Executive Director of Tech Exchange. I just wanted to first begin by commending the CPUC and the CDT for producing this very ambitious digital equity plan for the state of California. It's definitely much needed. Efforts were highlighted and some very ambitious objectives that are there. So I want to really begin by commending this group and these agencies for producing this plan and for engaging the community in developing the plan. I know that we were fortunate enough to participate in some of the planning sessions here in the Bay Area in the spring of last year, as well as in the San Jose region for producing some of the outputs for this plan. And then the other key thing for us as a nonprofit organization that Tech Exchange has been doing this digital equity work and bridging digital divide for nearly 30 years now. I think that now is a prime opportunity through this plan to really achieve some of the objectives highlighted there, particularly around connectivity to devices and not losing sight of that importance, and really strengthening and continuing to expand the existing programs that the CPUC funds, in particular our digital literacy programs, are successful thanks to the support of the CPUC, and also offering devices as incentives for folks to become digitally trained and have the skills to participate in the digital economy. So I think particularly some of the efforts to bring stakeholders together to strengthen those kinds of programs would be really looking forward to seeing that happen as part of this plan. And then the other one is to continue to support also refurbishers like Tech Exchange. You know, throughout the state, the backbone of our programs is pretty much is grounded on refurbishing computers that businesses and corporations donate to us, and we're in turn able to distribute those through classes like that CPUC funds, or to schools or other CBOs. So that's a key factor, I think, in doing this work. And the other component that I think is just as important is the workforce development tie-in that's also mentioned in the plan. We have an internship program that we promote to young people primarily here in Oakland to introduce them to STEM careers by teaching them how to refurbish computers and put the computers together again. But also it's very much tied to community service. So it's about distributing those computers back to community members that need them, and then also helping them navigate, important sites like healthcare access, housing access, job access, and things of that nature. So I just want to emphasize that look forward to those particular efforts being enhanced and to the next steps of that, and also that we as Tech Exchange are very eager and open to continuing to collaborate with the agencies, and particularly in engaging community members in the process. So thank you guys again very much.
Thank you. And I think we've got another speaker.
Hi, everyone. Hi to the commission. Thank you for having this space to give comment. My name is Daniela Espinoza, and I'm the Tech Equity Fellow with the Greenlighting Institute. And I have 3 main points that I wanted to bring up today. The first one would be the challenge process. We believe that the CPUC should proactively notify community orgs and local governments when this process starts, and this relationship should start at least 30 days in advance, and this can include informational workshops on how to navigate such process so that they're fully ready once that timeline begins. Additionally, during the challenge process, when asking for information regarding low service speeds and quality, there should be a focus on shifting the burden of proof off of consumers and onto the ISPs. At the moment, it's been found that this information is easily accessible by the providers, and yet consumers are expected to endure long wait times or bypass paywalls to access this data, all of which is controlled by the providers. The other point that we want to talk about is the commission communications. As we heard today, it's not perfect. The community wants more in terms of outreach. And so some of the thoughts that we have are hybrid informational events being the norm. This will not only support parties in the challenge process with these types of meetings, but it would also help with these public comment spaces. Doing hybrid would help meet people where they're at, and it would not only and it would be beneficial to also utilize networks, including higher education campuses and living communities. Additionally, it would be beneficial to allow different meeting times throughout the day, as many people work on different schedules and may not be able to attend a single meeting. Notices for these meetings can and should be spread in channels that have not been historically utilized, but where many community members spend their time, such as on social media or through text campaigns in partnerships with groups that can reach wider audiences in different languages. In fact, during the Town Link program within the city of Oakland, one of the really successful campaigns was through a partnership with a group called El Tipano, which were critical in mass messaging campaigns that were able to be spread throughout the city in Spanish. The last recommendation that we have is through the MDU recommendations. First, we think that there should be a lower threshold for the challenge process, and one single challenge within an MDU should be sufficient to establish it as unserved, and this would help avoid deepening inequities within the state. Another thing that we recommend is adopting a broader definition of community anchor institutions to better encapsulate the reality of affordable housing in California, and specifically Oakland, where we are seeing a wide array of publicly supported housing types. These often function the same way as a CAI, and therefore this definition should be expanded to include these types of housing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other commenters? So Judge Glagola has a microphone, and he's just going to ask anyone that's in the audience that wants to include their name in the record for being here today to be able to state that.
I just want to say thanks. First, this is Ross Johnson with AT&T. And thanks, Judge Gogola, Commissioner Hauk, and Ms. Walters. Appreciate the opportunity to listen today. Thank you.
Good morning. John Gutierrez with Comcast. Also want to add my thanks to Commissioner Hauk, Judge Gogola, and Director Walters for hosting this listening session. It was very informative.
Okay. That's it. So I want to thank the community members that showed up today. I want to thank Allen Temple Baptist Church, the community nonprofits, and the providers, as well as all of the CPUC staff. We're going to go ahead and do sort of, I guess, a soft close, because I don't see anyone else here for public comment, but we will be here for the next 15 minutes in case somebody does come in through the doors and want to make a comment. But appreciate the comments. We will continue to conduct outreach. We will follow up on the recommendations we heard today about how we can do a better job with outreach in the community and work with community partners to ensure that that the community has information and can participate in our processes. And to the extent you'd like to hear from us or invite us to hear from you, please reach out to my office, to our CD staff, to Antoinette, and our community outreach folks. And again, I just want to thank everyone for being here today. And this is the beginning, not the end, of our continued outreach for this proceeding and the BEAD program. And I didn't want to end without offering Judge Glagola. Susan? Okay. So we will end, but may go back on if somebody comes in to make a comment. So thank you. want to thank everyone again for showing up. I think this is the official conclusion of the listening session, and we look forward to coming back to Oakland to talk with more community members.